The 5th episode of Loki has released on Disney+, and there are numerous things to break down, including the ending, hints towards the potential TVA villain, the variant Lokis, Easter eggs, and much more. In particular, I'm going to be giving you my breakdown of Loki episode 5, entitled Journey into Mystery, in the aim to help you guys understand the events and discover things you missed. This video will also contain spoilers from Loki episode 5, so if you do happen to be someone who hasn't watched the episode, then I would recommend watching this video after you've seen it. But if you want to watch more videos on all of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, then don't forget to support this video by giving it a like rating, subscribing to the channel, and turning on your notifications. Also, feel free to check me out on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, and Instagram at Cortex Videos, which is all linked in the description below. But without further ado, let's dive into Loki episode 5 and all of the show's latest events. So after last week's bombshell post-credit scene, episode 5 of the Marvel series Loki on Disney Plus reveals where the God of Mischief has ended up after being pruned by the Time Variance Authority. Having been greeted by Classic Loki, Kid Loki, Boastful Loki, and Alligator Loki, Loki learns that everything that is pruned by the TVA ends up in the void, including TVA agent Mobius. Sylvie, who is still at the TVA, manages to extract this information from Ravonna Renslayer before pruning herself to be reunited with Loki and take down the TVA once and for all. So the question that we still end on is who is really the person behind the curtain at the TVA and who's been pulling the strings all along. To begin with, in episode 4 we get a nice coming together of Loki and Mobius following the events of Mobius being pruned by Ravonna after deciding to help Loki in his mission to bring down the TVA. While it appeared that Mobius had been killed by his colleague, the mid-credit scene for the episode revealed that Loki had survived, landing in a wasteland and being greeted by several other variant Lokis. This means that Mobius would have also survived his pruning, a suspicion that proved accurate in episode 5 when he saved Sylvie from being swallowed up by Alioth, turning up in a battered car with a decorative pizza on top. After learning the truth about the TVA, that all of the people who work there are variants and were stolen from their timelines by the organisation, Mobius tells Loki that he plans on burning it to the ground, a cool reflection to Loki saying the same thing in episode 1. Just before Mobius heads back at the end of this episode to the TVA, using the tempad brought by Sylvie, he and Loki do share a nice hug as the God of Mischief says, "Thank you, my friend." It's the emotion the episode needed, with their chemistry being one of the standout elements of the show, and if anything, I wish we had more of that relationship. But apart from a smaller focus on Loki and Mobius, we also get an introduction to other variant Lokis that our Loki shares the void with. Last week, it was revealed that Richard E. Grant was starring as another version of Loki in the Marvel series, a role it had long been suspected he would be playing. After taking Loki to their hideout with Kid Loki, Boastful Loki, and Alligator Loki, Richard's Classic Loki explains that in his timeline, he didn't try to kill Thanos as Loki did in Avengers Infinity War, instead conjuring an illusion before isolating himself on a planet for years. It's also cool to note that Marvel snuck in a Thanos Copter Easter egg earlier on in this episode, almost alluding to the mentioning of Thanos later on by Classic Loki. I must say that even though I found most of the variant Lokis to be mainly fan service in this episode, I did like that Classic Loki shared his story and gave us at least a reason to care about his character, helping them in the final events. It still acted as mainly a nice reference, but there was at least something to chew on in relation to the events, and it acts as a different reflection on Loki's original death in Infinity War. Then comes a Loki mashup with the variant Lokis taking the original Loki to their safe pad, nourishing him with small info about how they ended up in the time void. While Kid Loki is king because he killed Thor, boastful Loki quips about how he defeated the Avengers, name-dropping Iron Man and Captain America and taking over the Infinity Stones, which of course turns out to be all a lie. After Loki fails to motivate the pessimistic Loki trio to fight Alioth, he attempts to leave, but is met with even more Lokis, with President Loki taking charge. Loki is embarrassed by the other Loki's actions, as one tries to betray the other, and at one point, an agitated alligator Loki bites off President Loki's hand, reminiscent of when Loki cut off Thor's hand when he tried to wield the Mjolnir in Thor: The Dark World. As expected, an epic fight breaks out which sees Kid Loki and Alligator Loki using Loki and Thor's fight tactic Get Help, which also featured in Thor Ragnarok. Don't get me wrong, it's a fun sequence and one that is much more entertaining than one seen in episode 3, but I can't help but think of that episode when there's so much plot progression and character development to be made, only to replace it with Loki fanservice. I still enjoyed the entertainment, but it would have been nice for a penultimate episode to focus more on the greater issues at hand. If anything, the classic Loki story that Richard E. Grant's character goes into is really the one thing that does stick as worthwhile. Either way, we'll have to see if these characters pop up again, otherwise they were just vessels of entertainment in the way of the interesting elements that I wanted more of. But after some brief entertainment between the Lokis, we come to the main meat of the episode, setting up where we could be going in the final episode next week. When Loki and Sylvie embark on their mission to enchant Alioth, classic Loki, Kid Loki and Alligator Loki head off, preferring to survive rather than risk destruction. However, just as it seems that Loki and Sylvie are on their own, struggling to enchant Alioth, classic Loki fulfills his glorious purpose, conjuring up an illusion by recreating the kingdom of Asgard that temporarily distracts the monster. It's a great moment with Richard's classic Loki demonstrating his monumental show of power that ultimately leads to his demise by the monster. But he succeeds enough for Sylvie to enchant the beast and give way to the entry that leads to the secret TVA villain. The mystery as to who is really behind the TVA remains the biggest unanswered question in Loki, as the 3 timekeepers at the organisation's headquarters were revealed to be androids last week. But after successfully enchanting Alioth, episode 5 ends with Loki and Sylvie walking towards a castle that could be where the person in charge of the TVA is hiding. While their identity is yet to be revealed, this final shot gives us more reason to believe that the mysterious villain is in fact Kang the Conqueror. The character, who is being portrayed by Jonathan Majors in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, is a time-travelling entity closely linked with Ravonna Renslayer. The castle in the final shot very much looks like Castle Limbo from the comics, and Kang's city base of Chronopolis was also depicted as existing outside of time and could exist in a temporal limbo. Alioth is further known for taking over Kang's dimension, so it would make sense for it to be stuck in limbo because of Alioth. However, the main point that could suggest that the villain isn't Kang resides in how the show is tackling Ravonna. In the episode, we do get a scene between Ravonna and Hunter B-15, which suggests that Ravonna doesn't know who the real person in charge is, so could this allude that it might be someone else? Overall, we don't really have much info on that, but after also seeing more of Miss Minutes this week, I think that whoever is in charge could be using the mascot to communicate. Miss Minutes might seem all cute and innocent, but she knows more about the TVA than perhaps anyone else who works there, including Ravonna, it would seem, from the multiple sequences we get with them in episode 5. Hiding the big bad in plain sight would make for the kind of mischievous reveal that Loki himself would be proud of, and during a recent interview with The Hollywood Reporter, voice actor Tara Strong teased that there's much more to be revealed when it comes to her character. So we'll have to see, but I do personally think that the final shot of the castle points more to Kang making an entry, whether we see that fully formed in the final episode or teased by the end of the show. But that was my brief breakdown video on Loki episode 5. Overall, I found this episode to be a mixture of the things I love and hate about the show. The things I liked, such as the exploration of Loki's character, the bonding between him and Mobius, and the mysteries behind the TVA, were all there. However, for a penultimate episode of a 6-episode show, a lot of the episode felt like it was playing too much on the fanservice elements and entertainment factor that would have been better in smaller chunks. There was too much of it, and it reminded me of episode 3 in that regard. I'm still excited for the finale, of course, and episode 4 really did help to develop that anticipation, but I just wish this episode would have been a bit stronger in story progression. The ideas, production, and characters is all there to really delve into something special, but at times the show does seem to lose its focus and rely more on the MCU properties of fanservice that we've seen used an awful too much. We'll have to see where it goes, and I am hoping for a great finale, one that answers our questions and one that makes us intrigued about the characters of Loki going forward. I'm giving episode 5 of Loki a 7.25 out of 10. I hope you guys enjoyed my breakdown, and overall, I'm interested to see what happens next week in the new Marvel show, which I will be covering here on the channel. I'm also intrigued to hear all of your thoughts on episode 5, so let me know down below in the comment section, as well as listing your predictions for the final episode. For more content on shows like Loki, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like rating and follow me on social media via the links in the description. I am covering and bringing constant updates on all the new Marvel shows, so make sure to keep a lookout for whenever I post. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.